Hi, my name's Andy Reid, and you're on the Alchemicast right here on Alchemical Records, where we give bands and artists an opportunity to talk about what they experience during and after COVID right here in the heart of DMV. I'm a musician, and I grew up around these parts for the last decade, playing music with my friends and gigging professionally around the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And man, I learned that it's all about who you know. The Alchemicast here is trying to connect bands with the viewers at home, you, and all of our listeners out there, because musicians are people too. We need help and we need listeners. So listen to music and support your local musician. With me today, I have MAAM, mothers and a man. Usually there's more of them, but we're missing their drummer and lead guitarist tonight. So please welcome to the room. We have the remaining three members, Stacy, MJ, and YY. So we got MAAM in the Alchemicast tonight. How's everyone feeling? How's COVID been for you?
Well, it's been as good as it can be expected, I suppose. We're all managing. I'm gonna let others chime in. Anybody else feel differently?
Well, my 8th grader had her first day of socially distanced in school today. So that was a trick, and some good, some interesting, but she was happy to not be in the house today. So it's going good after a year.
Yeah.
I think we've definitely all adapted to a very different way of life. So, yeah.
The new normal, right?
Exactly.
The new abnormal, rather.
So you guys recently launched your band. That's right around February 2020. So you guys have been together for a little over a year now.
That's right. It was the perfect time to launch a band in hindsight. Like, what could possibly go wrong? I mean, so yeah. We formed, I guess, at the end of 2019, and we kind of found each other in different ways, and then started playing live in February. I think we had our first and our last show for a long time in late February, and then right after that is when the planet hit pause and everything shut down. So, yeah.
Do you remember when that happened? How everything kind of stopped for the moment?
You know, I certainly do. It was sort of like watching a slow train wreck. And you were constantly hoping that the worst was not going to happen. And then all objective indicators continued to reinforce that, yes, the worst is about to happen. But we were all in this sort of collective state of denial, I think, for a long time. And I think the point at which reality really hit home was when the toilet paper disappeared. And that's when you knew.
Something's up.
It was real. It was real at that point.
Yeah. And you guys are from the DMV, or one of you is from the DMV? The rest of you are transplants, right?
Right.
I am from Idaho. So unfortunately, I've only had about 18 months in this beautiful area, but I love it.
And you've also lived all over the place, haven't you?
I have. We're a military family. So we've lived in Texas and California and Alaska and North Carolina and New York too.
Wow.
And I'm from the Midwest. So I grew up in Missouri and I've lived in Chicago, and we ended up here about 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am originally from Texas. I've been through many years of speech therapy to lose the drawl, so no one knows that I'm from Texas anymore. I fled the state as soon as I could, actually, and I moved to California and spent about 7 or 8 years there before relocating to the DC area for work. And then I managed to escape back to California for about 3 or 4 years, and then just recently returned to DC also for work. So I'm kind of torn between West Coast, East Coast, but I kind of feel like I left my heart in San Francisco, to be honest with you. Yeah.
What as a band, what are you guys doing to stay connected during this new normal? Zoom calls in sweatpants is the new normal for me. What's the new normal for you?
So we keep in touch a lot, just texting each other, complain about our kids or, whatever's going on. So we stay connected that way socially. It's a little more difficult to stay connected musically. But we do share ideas about songs and song lyrics, and we have managed somehow, as I mentioned before, to somehow put together, 2 songs virtually, and then get into the studio and have it all come together. So it's been a pretty amazing process, and I'm very proud of us for what we've done in such a short period of time under these circumstances.
Yeah, it's been pretty impressive to work with this amazing group of ladies and gentlemen. In the difficult circumstances, they have been like true friends. It's been beautiful to watch it develop as we've helped each other through tough times. Even in the short time we've known each other, I actually love these people.
We love you, girl. We love you too.
A lot of love there. So when you guys all came together, what were some common themes that brought you together as a band? You recently moved, you're new to the DC area, you're 4 moms and a man.
So why do you want to take that one?
I mean, I think it's a few things. It was, a love for music. We're not young anymore, but it's kind of cool to find other people, that are also moms that still have a desire to go do something fun with each other and have that way, sort of that outlet. For me, I have a husband and 2 boys that are super into sports. I'm incredibly unathletic. And so for me, this was a very welcome escape, and just kind of, it gives me the ability, right, to go do my own thing and really enjoy sort of that other hobby that I have that I don't really get to partake of, right, nearly enough. But I think, for me, that was a big part of it. That's how Stacy and I met.
I think serendipity brought me to the group. It was a Craigslist advertisement that brought me. I had no way of knowing these ladies, but my niece tipped me off to a strange Craigslist advert, and I responded to it. It was kind of creepy. I left a message with my husband saying, "This is the address I'm at," when I went to go audition, and if I don't come back in an hour, if I don't text you in an hour, come look for me here.
Well, I will take the blame for the creepy Craigslist. So I had this idea. I'm in another band, and I've always played in bands with men, with the exception of an ill-fated all-girl punk band back in the 90s that I'd prefer not to discuss. But anyway, so I've always played with guys, and there was one night I was cleaning up after a band practice at my house, and it was just a total disaster. There were like the drywall in my basement was like cracked because somebody, I don't even know what happened, but there were beer cans everywhere. And I was like, it would be kind of nice to see what it's like to play with women. And then I thought to myself, even more, if I'm going for like looking for responsible people, how about moms? So I came up with this idea back in like early 2019. This was like, I guess it was kind of like a New Year's resolution for me back then. And I decided I want to put together this year a band a rock band of all moms. Because, I think a lot of times as moms, we become so wrapped up in everybody else's needs. And sometimes it's hard to even feel like, ourselves. And music is such an incredible way to express yourself. And my goal was to find a group of women that were like-minded and young at heart and really in touch with their musical whatever their musical abilities and just looking to kind of express themselves musically. And I think I found a great group of people. It just so happened that YY, her son was in my son's class at school, and she came over one day and happened to see musical instruments laying all over the house. And we just started talking about music. And when she told me she played the bass, I was like, all right.
You're like, let's start an angry mom band.
Then it's kind of like check. It just started to fall into place. But, I think it's such a unique concept. And I remember when I was initially talking about it to people and looking to recruit people, they would laugh and they thought I was joking, but I was not joking. And I'm really, like I said before, I'm proud of what we've done. And I'm so happy that we were able to do this, especially during such a, can I say shitty time?
Yeah, a shit show, I believe is the proverbial term. Yes.
Yes, thank you. It has really kept us afloat, I think, in a lot of ways. And, music does make the world a better place.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, music makes life better. And especially around the DMV, musicians right now are struggling just to get the word out about their music and how they can help other musicians such as themselves. You guys released a single called Manster, which was a simply unapologetic rant about Trump. Maybe you guys could tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Do you guys wanted me to take this one, or?
You take this one.
Okay. So the band was almost, the impetus for the band in part was to give us a voice, because there was so much political turmoil and just so many things to be upset about at the time. And, one of those things I think that upset us a lot were some of the actions that were taken by the Trump administration. And so rather than just getting into this endless loop of watching the news and getting angry and then doing nothing, or, going to a protest or something, we decided to try to harness those feelings and that outrage and turn it into something creative and productive. And so the lyrics are what they are. I mean, it's pretty obvious reference to Trump and our feelings about him. But the music just sort of, I don't know how to really explain the process. It just sort of came together. I could almost hear it in my head. There was just like a few chords that I played on the piano, and those chords just became the song. I could hear the drums then, and the bass line and the guitar, and it all just sort of fell into place. And but we were literally, texting each other sound clips, what about this for the drums, and what about this for the bass line? And so it was a little bit difficult to kind of pull it all together virtually, but we were able to figure it out. And then we had a few practices before we actually got into the studio. And I should say, I want to give a shout out to our drummer, Roz, who is not able to be here, who was just like remarkable on the track, and she just really crushed it. But also to our lead guitar player, John, who, that kid, I don't even understand how he, it's just
incredible.
So the guitar solo in Manster, that was entirely him, and he made it up on the spot. And that's just how he operates. He hears the music, He knows what we're trying to do. He understands sort of the intersection of the different genres that the song represents, and he just runs with it. And so that is 100% John. But so we had a wonderful time in the studio. It was really fun, and I think we were happy with the result as well. It was it was really cathartic for us. And I'm gonna turn it over to YY and MJ.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, we learned a lot. That was our first time in the studio. And you know, we went to this pretty awesome place down the street to record. But I think just recognizing that if it wasn't for the pandemic, I don't know that we would have had the time or the space, right, to really, for you to sort of let your creative juices flow, to write the song, for us to be able to focus our energies on, like, you know, putting it together and you know, practicing despite the pandemic, right, outside with masks on, and sort of like working out lines and getting together in the studio to record it. So it was kind of cool that, you know, even though the pandemic happened and we weren't able to play and gig like we had envisioned doing as a cover band, that it gave us space to come out with, you know, some original music. So
Right. Odd to add to that, to this story. So I did actually contract COVID early in the summer of last year. And it was a very, very scary time because this was sort of early on in the pandemic and people did not know much about it. We still have no idea how we contracted it. But for whatever reason, after I got well, I went through this period of just intense creative energy where it was almost impossible to kind of hold it back. And so that's when these two songs were written, was during this time. And I actually think that somehow going through that experience either like just made me, you know, more open to whatever was in the universe. You know, I have no idea what happened. I just hope that it's that I still have that creative energy somewhere.
And so, Stacey, you're talking about your single Manster and then the second song Better, correct?
Both of them. Yeah, they were both written fairly close in time to one another. And in both instances, it was like the songs wrote themselves. And I can't even really explain how it happened. But, you know, as you probably know, as a writer, a songwriter, sometimes it's almost like you're channeling something that's already out there in the ether, as you said. And you're just sort of the vessel interpreting whatever it is that's out there. And that's, I guess, a little bit how I felt.
What I love about the two songs is how diametrically different they are, honoring both the rage and the softness and hope that can be contained in one little body. And so if one is not someone's cup of tea, the other one might really be. The lyrics to Better, the story behind it, the hope behind it, the longing behind it for something better for our children, and knowing that we can't hold their hand the whole time while they grow up in this world. We can't fix it for them. We wish we could leave it. We wish it was better for them, but it's not. But we'll support them and love them along the way are just amazing messages that can simultaneously exist in one person. So while there's the rage, there's also the unity and the hope that can come through. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that is beautiful. You can't have one without the other. And you guys have also played some music at, let's see, you had broadcast at the WERA 96.7 FM in Arlington, and WOWD 94.3 in Tacoma Park. As musicians, which I think is a close parallel to magicians, I think it's no strange fruit that the words are very similar. Music is magic. As musicians, what is something that other people out there that maybe aren't musicians, what can they do to support music and musicians in this strange time? If it isn't going to concerts, which aren't really happening as much as we'd hoped, as far as drive-ins or maybe the occasional venue, what's something that our listeners can do to support musicians in this time?
I think there's definitely the aspect of, there's so many ways to find and, discover new music. Listening to radio stations or, local radio stations that highlight some of those indie artists that maybe don't have the big record deals. There's also, I think there's certainly the business model of, can you even get heard right out there if you're not touring and doing all these things to promote your music. And it's been pretty cool to watch artists like Barty Strange, right? Like he came out pretty big this past year, and just kind of knowing that your music can stand on its own without necessarily touring to support it is kind of cool. I do think that the people who aren't musicians, how do they support music? I mean, there's definitely people that are performing in outdoor venues right now, and there's venues that support musicians, right? Even indoors, not during pandemic, that are pretty important to sort of that whole lifestyle and culture of being able to hear live music. And so I think it's really important to continue supporting those venues, even if you're not attending shows, making sure you're going out and ordering food from them or getting delivery. Those places are really important to, I think, the livelihood of a lot of people in the industry and the hospitality, as well as to musicians. So it's really important to continue supporting them.
Absolutely. Do you guys have any favorite venues or restaurants around the area? Maybe you could name drop a few.
Well, we had started our first show before the pandemic ended. Life as we know it was at a place called Dive in DC. And I think it's a very, very popular venue for open mic, new artists to kind of try out new music. And that was really fun. It's a great venue. So hopefully it's still around. We also played a place called Bourbon Boulevard. More recently, they were doing a series of outdoor shows. And so, they were very, very accommodating, and it was a really good time. And I think they've already started to have outdoor music again. Am I right, YY?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I mean, those are places that we've had the opportunity to perform. I definitely, locally here, we're based in the Northern Virginia area. I love listening to live music at like Clarendon's is a restaurant down the street in Falls Church that we enjoy. They have a great outdoor area with, a lot of good seafood and then live music playing all the time. Across the street is a State Theater. I'm sure you've heard of that. Great venue. And they also have outdoor musicians performing right now. They've been performing throughout the winter. So kudos to those musicians. And it's been kind of cool just, witnessing, the ability of people to just keep supporting live music. Another place I really like also is in Arlington in Westover. There's the Westover Beer Garden. A lot of local bands play there as well. And they have a great selection of beer. Good place to listen to live music.
Yeah, that place is really good. I love that place. I think it's just, really important in terms of, going forward. I think because the weather is warming up, there are going to be a lot more opportunities for outdoor music venues to open up and people to start playing again. And I'm very much looking forward to doing that. I know that, so my bandmates are as well. And I think people really miss live music. I know I do. I know a lot of my friends do. So I'm hopeful that there will be a renewed interest in the performing arts of all kinds once this is over. I think people are really appreciating more than ever the arts because we've been deprived of it for a year.
Yeah, we're hungry. I think the musicians are hungry to create. I think those who listen and appreciate are hungry to just drink it in. I think that another nice angle of the pandemic, something I've seen in my circle of friends just here, is that there's, I think, some budding musicians who have had the opportunity to discover their own talent and and then want to break into the music industry a little bit more. I have a friend who plays the hammered dulcimer. It's an amazing, amazing instrument, gorgeous instrument. And I took her down to Alexandria, Old Town, and we went to the pier there and did a little bit of busking, and that was good time, social distanced. And so that's a beautiful thing too. We can just see people growing their own talents and people just so hungry to hear other people share.
It's really amazing. I think you're absolutely right. It's amazing how open and willing people are to accept new artists or even music wherever you go. You know, sometimes you'd be walking down the street and I'll be walking down the street and I'll hear like a saxophone playing, and I just have to stop. And it's so nice. It's always so nice, whatever it is, a guitar or somebody singing but people, it really does affect people in such profound ways. And I feel like once this situation starts to clear up, that there's just going to be so much demand for music and, as I said, art in general, that I'm really looking forward to that and to playing more.
Well, the future looks bright. And so, in concluding, I'd like to thank you guys for coming on the show. Is there anything else you guys would like to add or anything that you want our listeners to know?
So we are definitely working on putting some new music together. And, we hopefully will have that out and about in the public domain in some capacity in the next few months. But just keep the faith. Keep up the hope, do what you got to do to get through this, no judgment. Everybody's got to take care of themselves and their families, and just hope that everybody stays safe and stays healthy. And that's it from me.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies. Really appreciate it. Well,
Thanks,
you guys heard it here, right here on Alchemicast. Thank you, ma'am. And thank you to all of our listeners out there. Have a good one and stay safe.